so next we're going to talk about Ukraine. So Leroy, what made you want to go to Ukraine?
Besides going to Chernobyl, that's really the main reason why I wanted to go. But another reason is it's like I went to Ukraine exactly 90 days before Russia.
Okay.
So I went in December of last year, December 2018. It was like a combination of a trip I went on with Turkey as well. So I actually met Renee Evans. I don't know if you probably know her.
Mm-hmm.
She's one of the founders of I Love the Globetrot. Shout out to that group. But yeah, I met up with her in Turkey, but I stopped in Ukraine for 5 days before meeting her there. And I wanted to go there because it's like Russia, Eastern Europe. I had to go see it for myself.
Right.
And knowing what I know about the Soviet Union, because Ukraine was part of the Soviet Union until it collapsed in 1991, and so it's a newly independent country. So I wanted to go see it for myself, and I wasn't disappointed.
Wow.
At all.
Okay, so you say Ukraine and Turkey were on the same trip. So how did you get to Ukraine from Turkey?
So I currently. So I went to Ukraine first and then went to Turkey.
Okay.
So the entire trip, I currently live in St. Louis where this video was being filmed. So I caught the Amtrak to Chicago.
Okay.
At like 4:30 in the morning.
Wow.
I had 12 hours to kill in Chicago, and I was born and raised there, so I know the city like the back of my hand.
Right.
So I hung out downtown for a couple hours, caught the blue line to O'Hare, flew to London Heathrow on British Airways. Then after connecting in London, I flew to Kiev via Warsaw, Poland, but I missed a flight to Kiev because it was snowing at London Heathrow, so all the flights were delayed.
Wow.
So I got to Poland late, so I missed a flight to Kiev. So when I got to Poland, like 2 hours after I was supposed to, they put me another flight to Kiev. So I got to Ukraine like probably 3.5 hours after I was scheduled to arrive there. So the entire trip probably took about 20 hours.
Wow. Now, what cities did you go to in Ukraine?
So I started in Kiev. I was there for 3 days.
Okay.
Chernobyl is 2 hours away from Kiev in Pripyat, and then after Chernobyl, I went to northern Ukraine or northwestern Ukraine in a city called Lviv, Lviv. And I ended the trip there, and then flew out of Lviv to Istanbul from there.
Okay. Now, did you have any issues upon arrival in Ukraine?
Besides the flight delay, no. You don't need a visa for Ukraine if you're there for less than 90 days. You can just go with a passport, and they'll just stamp you in, and they'll stamp the last page of your passport. So it's like the weirdest thing. It's like, because I was like, where are they putting the stamp at? And I went all the way back. I was like, I guess it's an immigration thing, so like they know where the stamp is, especially if you have a lot of stamps in your passport, so they can just go to the last page and see when you got there and they can just stamp you out. I guess just to make the immigration process easier for them.
Okay. So a fear that people mentioned when I told them about Ukraine was possible war breaking out or some type of militant concern. Did you have any of
Not
those?
necessarily, because you can't go to Crimea anyway. It's off limits, so there's nothing you really have to worry about. But Kiev, you can tell it was part of the Soviet Union because it just everywhere you look, it's just Soviet insignia everywhere. And if you go to Independence Square, or that square I put on the paper for you, that's in Ukrainian. I can't pronounce it either, but if you go to Independence Square, there's a giant obelisk in the middle of the city.
Okay.
And it'll just detail everything that happened leading up to gaining independence in 1991.
Wow.
So just reading about it and then actually being there, it was a whole different ballgame. You gotta watch out for the scams in Kiev too. So
really? Okay. Like what? Tell us about.
So there's gonna be like these humans in furry costumes, right? They're gonna say that there's students working, that sort of thing.
Okay.
And they want to take photos with you, but those photos are gonna cost you like $60 US.
See.
So yeah, I didn't. When I was doing research, I didn't come across that in my research.
Okay.
So I learned that while I was there.
Thank
you. Yeah, be on the lookout for that. So yeah, and another thing is Ukraine is the cheapest country in Europe in terms of the exchange rate.
Okay.
So you can literally go to like a grocery store and get like a loaf of bread for like 10 cents US. You can get a beer for like 40 cents. So
nice.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Okay, so did you have any safety concerns?
Nah, not really. I mean, it was cold outside.
Okay.
It was freezing actually.
What month did you go?
December.
December. Okay.
So I wasn't really worried about it because, you know, this day and age, just use common sense. You know,
right.
Don't wear expensive jewelry. You know, stuff like that. Just don't make yourself look like a tourist while you're
right.
there. Just try your best to blend in.
Okay. So another fear that people expressed was they heard about possible petty theft. Did you experience or see anything like that?
No, not necessarily. Just the only thing to watch out for is just, you know, like they said, those furry animals in Kiev. That's
furry
really
animals.
Yeah.
That's funny.
This is ABC News Nightline. Reporting from Washington, Ted Koppel.
There is some information coming from the Soviet Union tonight, some but not much. United Press International in Moscow reached some residents of Kiev by phone. Kiev is roughly 60 miles from the site of today's nuclear accident. According to these reports, all bus service in the city of Kiev has been stopped so that the buses can be used to evacuate those in the disaster area. From the Hungarian capital of Budapest, there are reports of many injuries at the site of the accident. And from Montgomery, Alabama, where the Environmental Protection Agency has its radiation alert network, there is word that radiation from the Soviet accident could, within a week or so, make its way over the North Polar region to the western United States. The effect of such radiation, if it reaches the United States, would almost certainly be very minor indeed. We will talk about that later. But first, an update on what we know. Here's Nightline correspondent Jed Duval.
In the Soviet Union, there is rarely bad news. Airplane crashes are not ordinarily reported. Many of the Western world scientists are convinced that in 1957 or 58, a large nuclear accident occurred in the Ural Mountains, some 800 miles east of Moscow, in the vicinity of Kishtim. Radioactive contamination covered 400 square miles. The names of some 30 villages have since disappeared from Soviet maps. Evidence of a disaster of some sort is clear, but Soviet authorities have never acknowledged a problem. So it was extraordinary that Soviet TV news did report a big accident today. It came deep in the newscast, almost buried, after production reports, after lists of worker awards, and this is what it said. An accident has occurred at the Chernobyl atomic power plant as one of the atomic reactors was damaged. Measures are being undertaken to eliminate the consequences of the accident. Aid is being given to those affected. A government commission has been set up. 4 ambiguous sentences that contain nothing about injuries or deaths. But that's 4 more sentences than the Soviets usually provide. So, Western experts conclude, it must be very bad indeed. The first the world knew of the accident was when Scandinavians noticed radiation in the air over the weekend just past. Not enough to hurt anyone, but enough to frighten.
On April 26, 1986, the world's worst nuclear accident happened in Chernobyl. An explosion sent radioactivity into the atmosphere, and it caused immediate deaths of anywhere from 31 to 56 people, but the long-term effects affected hundreds of thousands of people. So we want to talk to you today about Chernobyl, which was a very serious, just really tragic event. What made you want to go to Chernobyl?
I've always been interested in nuclear power for whatever reason. I don't know, I just found it interesting. So I went December of 2018. Okay. So I've watched countless documentaries on it to the point where I was like, look, I gotta go see it for myself.
Right.
So I went last year during my trip to Ukraine, and this was, before the HBO series came out. So I had to go see it for myself.
Right.
And the thing about it is you can't go there on your own.
Okay.
You have to go with a tour group. I went with a group called Solo East, which is the oldest tour company in Ukraine that operates tours.
East.
Yeah, that operates tours to the exclusion zone, and they offer you lunch as well. It's like $100 US, and you're there for like 13 hours. You're there all day.
Okay.
And in the exclusion zone, it's in a city called Pripyat, which is in which is about 2 hours it's 2 hours away from Kiev.
Okay.
So at about 6 a.m. I met everybody else that was going to Chernobyl in the group at Independence Square. So we all met and convened there. They drove us to Pripyat, and at the entrance of the exclusion zone, there's gonna be a checkpoint. You have to bring your passport with you because it's mandatory.
Okay.
So you have to bring that with you, and once they confirm you're there legally, you're allowed to enter. And at the entrance, you're gonna see a whole bunch of stray animals like dogs, foxes.
Wow. Okay.
Even deer. None of them are mutated. I'm just letting you know. None of them have like extra limbs, and they're not glowing in the dark and stuff like that. When you enter the exclusion zone, it's like a giant ghost town. Like it's completely deserted, and it's just like seeing it up close versus what I saw on TV. It's a whole different animal. Right. It's like they take you to the first stop they take you is the abandoned kindergarten / nursery, whatever you want to call it.
Oh my goodness.
So when you walk in there, you're gonna see just dozens of like cribs and bunk beds, just exactly the way they were 33 years ago when the disaster happened. You still got kids' toys in there. You still got newspapers in there. Like it's insane.
Did
like,
it creep you out?
Yeah, a little bit, but it was a photographer's paradise at the same time.
Right.
Because
that's true.
I've never seen anything like it. It's just like time literally stands still there.
I bet.
And it's just you're in the presence of one of the worst things to ever happen in the history of mankind.
It's so sad when I look at the pictures and see videos.
Oh man. And then from there they take you to the actual city of Pripyat. So there's a hospital there, there's a sports complex there. They take you everywhere, even an amusement park. But that particular amusement park actually never opened. It was actually supposed to open in May of '86, but the disaster happened a week earlier. So the amusement park is just sitting there abandoned. There's a Ferris wheel, there's bumper cars there, there's a swing set. It's like everything's just rusted and corroded.
Oh, that's so sad.
Yeah, it's fascinating to see at the same time.
Right.
And the thing is, see how the disaster happened, they were just doing like a routine check on one of the reactors. Okay. But for whatever reason, it malfunctioned, and a nuclear meltdown happened, and the reactor number 4 literally exploded. It blew the top off the nose cone, so it released all radioactive dust all across Europe and almost to the point of the east coast of the United States. And the residents of Pripyat, they were told they can come back within 24 hours, but 24 hours turned to 33 years.
Wow.
And they're never to return, but you can still visit the exclusion zone. You just can't live there.
Okay. So the number one fear when I discuss Chernobyl was the radioactivity and what precautions they take to make sure that we're as safe as we can be when we travel. So can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so contrary to popular belief, it's not as radioactive as it used to be. I mean, granted, the soil is still pretty radioactive. Like they'll give you a Geiger counter, which is a unit, which is a device to measure radiation. Okay. So you can literally hold it to the soil; it'll just go berserk.
Wow.
But as far as being in there, you're actually exposed to more radiation on the flight getting there versus staying in Chernobyl for 12 hours. Okay. So yeah, you're actually exposed to a ton of radiation on airplanes. A lot of people don't know that. But at the end of it, there's a cleaning apparatus that they have, so like you can scrub your shoes on like a steel type thing that'll just get rid of all the radioactive particles at the bottom of your shoes and things like that. So they'll make sure you leave safe, that sort of thing. And before that, they'll take you to a decommissioned military base, and inside of it is this giant decommissioned radar. It's called the Russian woodpecker because of the sounds it made. Oh, okay. And it sounded like a woodpecker. So this thing, it's like literally like a mile wide. It's huge. And when we went, it was really foggy. Like, I wish I could just show you guys the picture I took there. And I've never seen anything like it. And due to the fact it was foggy and it was cold and it was snow on the ground, it just made it was absolutely creepy.
Wow. So basically, you spent, was it one day? Because I know you said 13
it's about 13
hours.
hours. So
Okay.
literally the entire day I was there from sun up to sundown.
So how many people were there?
In our particular, Solo East, they had like small groups. So it was about 10 of us, and it was like even though I went last year, I still keep in contact with everybody on the trip.
Nice.
And they were from all over the world. Like, I was from America. We had people from Germany, people from Australia, like they were from everywhere. And that's the power of social media. You
Right.
can it creates good networking opportunities. And I recommend everybody go to Chernobyl because it's one hell of a history lesson.
Absolutely. Have you seen the TV show?
I have. It is pretty accurate for the most part, but just seeing it for myself, nothing can compare. No movie, no documentary or anything compared to what I saw there with my own eyes.
Wow. So there you have it. Chernobyl. I plan on going in 2021. I want to do Russia and Ukraine, so we'll see if I make that all one trip or, what I decide to do. Maybe not one trip, but we'll see. Let's see. So any final tips about Chernobyl?
Like, just do your research, wear comfortable clothes, especially if you go in winter, because it's going to be cold.
Okay.
Because Eastern Europe gets really cold in the winter. Just go with an open mind. Just be prepared to, just be prepared for the sensory overload, because it's oh man.
Wow, I bet. I can imagine. What are the top 3 things that you recommend people do there?
So, Independence Square.
Okay.
So, like I said before, so you can learn about what, basically the history of Ukraine, what led to the Soviet Union collapsing. And, Chernobyl had a lot to do with that as well, because it was an economic nightmare when it happened.
Right.
So it had a lot to do with this collapse of the Soviet Union. The next thing, if you go to Southwest Ukraine or Northwest Ukraine in Lviv, there's this coffee dispensary. It's like an underground coffee mine type thing, and you can ask for what they call a seared coffee. So you get a caramel latte, right? And they literally take a blowtorch and just sear the thing. I made a video of it. It was like the coolest thing ever. It'll unleash your inner pyromaniac if you're into stuff like that. And then in the same city in Lviv, it's this spot called Rhinox Square. So if you've been to Prague and places like that, it's similar to Old Town Square. But if I was there in the winter, so there were like Christmas markets going on and everything. And in the square, there's this. If you go up the city bell tower, you get a panoramic view of all of Lviv from up there.
Okay.
And there's one more spot there. It was called the Drunken Cherry. Basically, it's this. It's
My type of place.
It's a liqueur dispensary where everything in there is cherry flavored.
Oh, nice.
So they got this. Oh man, I can't even pronounce it, but I brought back this cherry liqueur thing.
Again, where's my drink? Where's my liquor, Leroy?
I'll let you taste it, because I still have some left. But you gotta check out the Drunken Cherry. That's like a must in Lviv. It's just you gotta go in there. You can sample all the cherry flavored things.
Nice.
It was delicious. Not really. Yeah.
Thailand or Bali? Because people always ask. So.
I know. I mean, me personally, if you had the time, you can do both.
Okay.
Because once you're in Southeast Asia, all the flights are like stupid cheap. So, but if it were up to me, I would do Thailand. Main reason is because, Bali's just an island. Thailand is a whole country. So,
I love islands. My island girl.
I mean, but still,
It is. I love Thailand too. You can't go wrong with either. It's so hard, but people always ask that question. So.
If it were up to me, I would pick Thailand just because. It's like I said. I feel like there's more to do in Thailand.
Right.
Because, like I said, Bali is just an island. Thailand, you got big cities, you got islands, you got street food, you got everything you want in one spot, pretty much.
Okay.
And it's cheap, but only thing is the traffic sucks.
So Thailand, France, or Italy?
It depends on why I'm going.
Okay.
Like, if it was for like food, Italy hands down, because food in France is trash. I'm just saying. But if it was for like,
I love y'all. Don't unfollow me. I'm just playing.
I mean, I guess history-wise, Italy as well. You know, because Rome was home to one of the oldest civilizations ever. But honestly, I would just pick Italy over France any day of the week.
Okay, there you have it, folks. Italy. And our last one, Australia or New Zealand?
Well, I mean, I'm kind of biased because I have an emotional connection with Australia because it was the very first place I went to solo 10 years ago. Like, it literally gave birth to the traveler I am today. I mean, it's gotten to the point where I've been there 5 times now over the last 10 years. So I have been to New Zealand as well. But if I had to pick, it depends, like I said, it depends on why I'm going. Like, because I'm into nature photography, so New Zealand hands down. But for anything else, Australia.
Okay. So there you have it, with the world according to Leroy. Let me see this passport, because this that big. I can recognize a thick book when I see one. He got the 52-page passport, y'all.
Yeah, it's halfway filled. I got that in
Wow.
2017.
Look at
In my picture, I was hung over in that picture.
He got stamps, y'all. Can I show them some? Look at these stamps. Stamps, y'all. Ain't that the personal one of these?
No.
Stamps.
Yeah. So
Look at this
on that particular page, I got a stamp from New Zealand on that page. They don't stamp passports anymore
Shut up.
for whatever reason. So you can actually ask them for a stamp, and more than likely they'll give it to you. And if you go all the way back, there's no more. If you go all the way to the back, is that Ukraine stamp.
Nice.
See, it's all, you can't read that.
Also, you are almost out of pages.
I got half that passport left.
Oh, okay. They skipped.
See, if I got the 24 page, I would be fucked.
You would. Oh, Leroy, you cussing on my channel.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay. Okay, here you go.
Yeah.
Okay, so what I do